No, dude. No, I'm going on the air right now. I don't know what you want me to do, but I'm going on. Hey, Stan, it's your place. Your place, Stan. You let Blueface in there. You let him turn in your SoFi Stadium into Fremont Street. No, you got to do something. What do you want me to do about it? I already spoke about it. It's on you, Stan. Stan, get Demoff to give me a credential and maybe I'll come in there and say something. But until then, bro, it's on you. Now I got to go. Yeah, I got to go. Yeah, I'll call you. I'll call you. Okay. I got to go. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Yeah, no. It's on you. You got to do something. Talk to Snead, talk to McVay. McVay just had a kid. He doesn't want that stuff around his kid. You need to do something about it. And stop bugging me. I'll call you when I can. All right. Bye. Bye. Okay. I'm Joe Charosian, and this is RamView. Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Charosian, and this is RamView, the October 27th, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions, call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. I do apologize. I like to keep my line open because sometimes people will send me cool questions. My friend Stan called me. He's just feeling a little ineffective. It's funny to have that much power, right? I mean, he owns the Nuggets. He owns the Rams. He owns SoFi. I mean, he owns practically everything. And, you know, sometimes he just needs to be encouraged. But I apologize. I don't know what he expects me to do about things going on in his stadium. Maybe if they credentialed RamView, we can work something out. But anyway, getting ready for the Rams-Cowboys this week, looking around the NFL, and then obviously breaking down some NFL news. And, of course, looking at the Rams' history and everything. As some news broke about Rob Havenstein today, you begin to realize the Rams have a great history at right tackle. Sounds really vague, sounds really random, but the Rams do. But first off, the Cowboys. I'm trying to be cool about this. There are sometimes I can be so bitter is that I don't want the Rams to have a 1-15 season. But if the Rams were to go 1-15 and that one win was against the Cowboys, a lot of the sting would go out of it because I despise the Cowboys. Someone asked me how long are you going to hate the Cowboys? I said until they rot and lie stinking in the earth. My motto has always been I'll root for the Cowboys when they play the Russians. But even then, yeah, I'll still root for them when they play the Russians. But I'm not unemotional when it comes to the Cowboys. Looking at this Rams team, and I'm trying not to be emotional, I'm trying not to be fanboy, is my fear this whole week that at some place the Rams are going to get a butt kicking, that they stayed close. We've talked about it for the previous two episodes this week, that they're averaging 6-point losses, right? That all four of their losses combined come to about 6 points, right? And so it's tough. It's really tough. They've only combined all their losses. They've only lost by 26 points, and they should have won all those games. All those games the Rams lost, they should have won. They've played above their heads. And again, it's a young team, and my fear is they're going to hit a wall. So I had the score in my head that the Rams could end up losing 30-7, getting blown out. And then as I was having some technical issues with a morning broadcast, I ended up putting on Colin Cowherd, and he trashed the Rams and said the party was over, that the jig is up and all that. And it really made me mad. It really made me mad. So I don't know. That is that fanboy in me. I don't want to hear someone who doesn't do his homework completely when it comes to the Rams and some of the NFL. He just takes the low-hanging fruit. I didn't want him to sound like I'm aligned with him. You know what I'm saying? There's some people you don't want to sit next to in a public place, to have someone think you're aligned with them, that you're thinking is the same as them. And yeah, I don't want to be thought of that way. So I'm going to give you my Rams prediction on the other side of the break. My Rams history with the Cowboys starts to 1973. It's one of the first games I listened to from start to finish on the radio. Dick Enberg and Harold Jackson scoring 4 touchdowns in the first half. Al Clark, 37-31, getting the ceiling pick off of Staubach. I've talked about that a lot. In fact, my first book, Tangent Dreams, the dedication is to Harold Jackson, Dick Enberg, and Al Clark on October 14th, 1973. Believe it or not, I did dedicate the book to those guys. They don't even know who I am. My first in-person game was in 1974, was August 10th. My brother took me to the Times charity game, the old Times charity game, and that game was a tight score, about a 6-6 tie until late in the second half. Les Strayhorn, who never really made it in the NFL, caught a swing pass and broke free down the south sideline and was run out of bounds by Cullen Bryant, and that was the Cullen Bryant's breakthrough game. Up to that point in 74, he was a defensive back, and he came clear across the field and got Strayhorn out. Now, the Cowboys still scored and won the game, but I think a week later, Cullen Bryant was turned into a running back, and we know the story from there. I was at the 1975 NFC Championship game. The Rams had beaten the Cardinals the week before. It really looked like it was their season. Cowboys won after in Minnesota on the Hail Mary after Drew Pearson pushed off on Nate Wright. And you know, that just what 88s do in Dallas and for the Cowboys. They always get to push off and they end up in the Hall of Fame. Not that I'm bitter or anything, but Cowboys came to LA and they clobbered the Rams 37-7. I was there. I sat there. I was in the stadium at the closed in, and I got to tell you, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. In 1976, I watched the Rams and Cowboys game on TV. It was leading up to Christmas or right around Christmas time. I think it was December 19th. And literally to this day, it is the most physical game I ever saw. Rams weren't expected to win in Dallas. Fred Dreyer, Bill Simpson, these guys just came out with this nasty look. And the Rams beat the Cowboys 14-12 in Dallas. That was the game Rusty Jackson took the safety and spiked the ball when he took the safety because he had 2 punts blocked in that game. Yeah, not a very good punter. He had another one blocked the following week in Minnesota, but the Rams won that game 14-12, and I treasure that game. That was like one of the sweetest games I've ever watched. I watched the 1978-79 NFC title game. Scoreless first half, became a 28-0 Cowboy rout. Hollywood Henderson dunking on the goalpost after his pick 6. And here is the interesting thing. That Ram win in 76, that 14-12 win, that game came in December after the Rams had lost the NFC title game in January for the 75 season. That game was played in January 4th, 1975. By the end of December in 76, the Rams had gone back into Dallas and crushed the Cowboys. Interesting thing is when the Cowboys beat the Rams 28-0 at the Coliseum, that was January the 7th, 1979 for the 78 season. You understand what I'm saying? But before the 1979 calendar year was over, it was December 30th, and the Rams with Billy Waddy, Billy the Quick, catching that pass from Vince Ferragamo, and the Rams won in Dallas 21-19. The Rams ended Roger Staubach's career on his butt. Rams DC Bud Carson employed 7 defensive backs in that scheme to close the Cowboy show down. One of the more treasured wins of my Ramdom. So yeah, I'm very emotional when it comes to the Rams Cowboys, and I try not to be, trying to be mature, but I welcome to hear your pain as well. Rams need a bye right now. Yeah, whatever. Just take care of the Jaguars, Steeler fan Rob from Missouri. Just take care of the Jaguars. Okay, around the NFL and other places, Buffalo beat Tampa Bay last night, 24-18. The Bills should have won by more, but they didn't. They never do. And if Chris Godwin just looks up sooner on the last play Thursday night, he catches the final heave from Baker Mayfield, uncontested, and the Bucs win. That's how razor thin that Buffalo victory was last night. And I catch myself rooting for Baker Mayfield. I don't know he's been beaten up, smashed around, but I find myself rooting for this guy, and I don't know why. Other news around the NFL, we've got all kinds of stuff building. I find it interesting that I saw the news that Dalvin Cook is looking into maybe moving on from the Jets. I found it interesting that with all the Jets' offensive woes, they haven't figured out a way to incorporate Dalvin Cook into their offense, getting maybe him and Breece Hall on the field at the same time. And now it seems like he's available in a trade. That seemed really interesting because it wasn't a case of Dalvin Cook leaving Minnesota because he was washed. It was him leaving Minnesota because he cost too much, and it was time to move off of him for that regard. But why wouldn't the Jets find a way, another weapon out there for Zach Wilson to lean on? Anyway, just curious. Mock drafts are a big thing right now, and I don't know why mock drafts are, but I really don't look at mock drafts, but it was popping up in my feed. According to the latest update, going into week 8 right now, the Rams have the 14th overall pick, which sounds like gold considering where they've been drafting the last few years. Stuff to keep an eye on. Rams have their full complement of picks, as well as they'll be picking up some compensatory picks as well. So it should be a fairly rich draft class. I don't know if it's 14 picks, but it'll be interesting to see. Derrick Henry, his name is being floated as a trade option now. The Titans are breaking down. They sent their safety Byard to the Eagles. Yeah, the Titans need to shut down and just kind of reboot. And part of that would be moving Derrick Henry. Move him now. He's a free agent after this year. They voided the rest of his contract. He's 29. He's going to be 30. Get him out of town now. And I don't think he'd be that expensive. So I could see the Ravens making a move for him. A lot of talk is the Cowboys. I could see that happening. I wouldn't re-sign him. If he only cost me a 4th round pick or a 3rd round pick, he's a free agent at the end of the year, and he's 29. You take on the rest of his salary that's owed for this year, and then you move on, right? You move on. You don't want to give him a long-term contract, but he might be highly motivated at the age of 29, right? If he was in Logan's Run, he'd be ready to go on carousel. He might just be interested in finding that ring. He might really just want that ring. Okay, I promise Tim Burns, Rob Sorge, I will be answering questions if you have any, or anybody else watching. If you have some questions as we get towards the break in the show, I'm happy to ask or try to answer some questions or give some thoughts. Interesting thing is Deshaun Watson was interviewed saying, he wants to play and everything. But the one thing he said, I worked my butt off for 2 years to get back to playing. Hey, you know what? We can't rewrite history, at least in the NFL. We try to, and the country rewrites history all the time. Our congressmen and senators and presidents rewrite history all the time. We don't have to accept it. Those of us who aren't completely overwhelmed with this Orwellian stuff, we do have a memory. And my memory tells me that when Deshaun Watson sat out in Houston in 2021, it wasn't because he was suspended or put on some kind of exempt list. It was because he chose not to play. Remember, he wanted out of Houston because he didn't like the direction the team was going, and he didn't play for that team. And the team that won 4 games with him in 2020 won 4 games with him in 2021, right? And it wasn't until that season came to an end that everyone found out, he was Caligula of the NFL in terms of his sexual his sexual actions, so to speak. So he became Caligula, and he got an 11-game suspension going into last year after he was in Cleveland. But this is a guy that, again, he was losing trade value faster than the Titanic was taking on water after hitting the iceberg. And instead of waiting for the situation to sink, Cleveland rides into the rescue, shows up with 6 draft picks, 3 first-rounders, a 3rd, and 2 fourths to send to Houston. And then, if that's not enough, they double down and give 230 rocks guaranteed to the guy that's the Caligula of the NFL and set out a season because he chose to. What a disaster. What a disaster. And it could only happen in Cleveland, right? I tell you, I told Sonny Weaver that day, Vontae Mack, no matter what, but I don't think he listened. Kyler Murray is off the injury report. He could be playing very, very soon. He could be facing the Rams after the bye, which would be interesting. Again, Kyler Murray, unless he's had some kind of epiphany with his football, never scares me. Kyler Murray is a splash player, not a consistent player. Again, unless something has happened in between, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. You know the team likes Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs is not as talented as Kyler Murray. And you've heard reports that other teammates, some teammates that are no longer there, were very frustrated with Murray. Now, if this knee injury was a come to Jesus moment sports-wise for Murray, then maybe he's going to use that talent and focus it in one direction and be very mature. I just never liked Murray's body language, right? I get really turned off on a quarterback that points fingers at somebody else or shrugs at one of his teammates. I have no problem with them running hot like Derek Carr or Tom Brady. I have no problem with them running hot, but I do got a problem when there's that eye roll, that shrug, or that point that it's them, not me, right? You're a quarterback. You got to be better than that. Seahawks, they did officially sign Frank Clark. Uchenna Nwosu, pectoral injury, is on the injured reserves, and that means he won't be available when the Rams play the Seattle, or when Seattle comes to LA in week 11 after the bye. So that'll be interesting because you don't know how much Frank Clark has in the tank. It'll be interesting to see. Former Rams, an update last night. Maybe you saw it. Richard LeCounte was former Ram Richard LeCounte, who was an early camp cut by the Rams. He was activated from the Tampa Bay practice squad. I love keeping track of former Rams. Rams news, latest from the injury tent. Byron Young and Russ Yeast practiced on Thursday. Excellent. That's good news. Laurel Murchison, Ernest Jones, Ben Skoranek. Murchison and Jones were knees, but we both know the situation there. Murchison hasn't dressed out the last couple of weeks. Ernest Jones has been playing great. Skoranek keeps showing up, so we know where that. They were limited in practice, but as of before, I don't know if something was released later today, but all's good with those guys. The one that no one was happy about, and he's been moved to the questionable status, was Rob Havenstein with a calf injury. He didn't participate yesterday, and that one's an UGG. That one's an UGG. I think what people forget is that in all that madness last year, Rob Havenstein played in 17 games, started 17 games, took 1,019 snaps. He was the Rock of Gibraltar out there when there was all this craziness. And again, I don't know if Havenstein's really, really appreciated. Isn't it funny, as the Rams got out of contract, as the Rams moved on from different people and players and everything, is they've kept Havenstein around, right? Second round, 57th overall in 2015 down to Wisconsin. He's in his 9th year, 6'8", 330, right? He's missed just 14 games out of a possible 137. And 7 of those 14, he missed the back half in 2019 with an injury. So he's like really most of them missed 7 games, right? Held out once or twice here and there. He is a rock, and he might not be going to the Hall of Fame, but he's a great reminder. To me, when I look at him, he's the 21st century version of John Williams. Now, people think John Williams, they think the composer, right? Or John Hotplate Williams. No, John Williams was the Rams' right tackle from 1973 through 1978. He was a Klosterman special. The Rams acquired him for a first-round pick, and he had been previously a first-round pick for the Colts, played with them, won a Super Bowl with them. But Williams was the starting right tackle for the Rams for 6 years, never missed a game. And the guy he lost his job to in 79 was a dude named Jackie Slater. That's how good Williams was. Never went to a Pro Bowl, was never named All-Pro, kind of like Havenstein, right? And then when you look at this Rams history, this Rams background here in right tackles, I'm getting a little worried here. I'm seeing Tim Burns, true Ram fan, dealing and agreeing with that snake, Rob from Steeler fan from Missouri. Be careful, Mr. Burns. Be careful. He's actually a closet Cowboy fan. We're going to have the proof before the season's over. But look at the Rams right tackle situation in the Super Bowl era. Charlie Cowan was the Rams starting right tackle for 4 seasons, from 65 through 68. He was actually a Pro Bowl right tackle in 68. And then he moved to left tackle when the Rams acquired Bob Brown. Remember Bob Brown? Bob Brown's a Hall of Fame right tackle. Really, his size and his skill was ahead of his time. He was an all-pro right tackle for the Rams in 69 and 70. There was a couple of years of mystery there with Harry Shue. Williams came in from 73 to 78, and Jackie Slater nailed that spot down from 79 through 93. He was still with the club in 94, played one window dressing game in St. Louis in 95 before retiring. But that's how long and how sustained and how well this Rams right tackle spot has been. Now, after Slater, it was kind of a revolving door. Kyle Turley, Adam Goldberg, Wayne Gandy, the player we don't like to mention, Alex Barron, another one we don't like to mention, Jason Smith. We've had all these guys come through there. I think Barry Richardson was a revolving door. Havenstein comes in, restores the glory of the right tackle spot for the Rams, as he has nailed that position down since 2015. Just an awesome job. Should never be overlooked. Before we get to the break, the Rams have designated Hunter Long to return. So if they intend on activating him, then you have to believe then that Bryson Hopkins has about at most a 3-week window left as a Ram, right? Can you see this team keeping 4 tight ends on an active roster, right? Higbee's been extended. He's not going anywhere. Davis Allen was recently drafted, 175 overall, 5th round. The Rams aren't going to be done with him. He's actually getting snaps as a blocking tight end. And then in the Jalen Ramsey deal, the Rams took a 3rd rounder, and then the Dolphins basically said, who do you like? And scouting report went back to an old scouting report, obviously probably done by some former folks that looked at it and said the Rams were high on Hunter Long when he was at Boston College. And so they said, hey, give us Hunter Long. And then what are you going to do with Bryson Hopkins, right? And again, I'll say this. 4th rounder out of Purdue, didn't play a snap in 2020, didn't do anything in 2021 until the Super Bowl. And then the Rams got some serious clicks out of him. 4 catches in the Super Bowl and the great seal block on Cooper Kupp's jet sweep. And so I wouldn't call him a bust. The Rams, he was there when the Rams needed him in the biggest games. I'm sorry to see he didn't get a better chance, but I can't see him staying on this team. I do not know. Do they release him and see if he passes through and then re-sign him to the practice squad? I don't know, but I got a feeling his days are numbered. Okay, I'm Joe Tarosian, and this is RamView. And I was a sports writer for 21 years, still am. Now I do RamView thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. If you have an auto issue, give Kistler Law a call. Been fighting for you since 92. And of course, by Temple City Auto Repair. Check them out at templecityauttorepair.com. I do RamView and I write books. And I showed you one of my books, Tangent Dreams, earlier. They are available on Amazon. And I've also written 5 other books, and they're all there too. I do that because it supports me in my day job, that I pastor a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene, very small church, but only when you're looking at it in person or online presence at Burbank Faith Virtual is pretty good. We have a Burbank Faith Virtual channel right here on YouTube, as well as burbankfaithvirtual.com. And you can check us out, Burbank Faith Virtual on Facebook, and find us posting on Instagram and the platform formerly known as Twitter, right? Called X. And so we're basically all over the joint. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask. But yeah, that's what I do, and I'm blessed to do this. And so I thank you for your support. Just be sure to check us out on Spotify. I think I'm finally starting to get some traction on Spotify. It's been a real slog. But if you could check us out on Spotify and do whatever it takes, subscribe, like, listen, that would really help as we try to build our footprint over there. And so I do appreciate everything. Leave your comments, hit the share button, likes, and I will try to answer as many questions as I can. And I don't have any problem admitting I'm wrong, and I won't dump on you, because if you're a Ram fan or a football fan and your eyes are open, you have an opinion. Just my issue here, I think what opens the door for us to talk is I don't just take what the KBM, the Kiss Butt media says, because as I worked in the media, I could tell you this. There's some great people out there, and there's a lot of lazy folks that have failed up. And yeah, you just need to have your eyes open, and your opinion. Don't discount what you see. Okay. Don't discount what you see. All right, let's get to some questions that folks had here. I think Rams need a bye right now. Rob, Steeler fan in Missouri. Hey, you just take care of the Jaguars. We'll deal with the Cowboys. Tim Burns. Bills receivers have another gear. Yeah, I guess so, Tim. Yeah, but something's not right in Buffalo, right? They look a lot like USC. I don't trust them in big games. Tim Burns, question. If we are keeping Stafford, Kupp, Donald, and Puka because we have a window for the Super Bowl run, why keep all these upcoming picks? Seems contrary to recent mantra, you rock Big Joe. I don't believe we have a path to the Super Bowl this year. I really don't. I've never said that. We have a path to the playoffs. And you get to the playoffs, you win the games that win 9 games. In the 9 games in the NFC, 9 wins in the NFC is going to get you to the playoffs. Once you're in the playoffs, heck, anything could happen, right? Look at the Arizona Diamondbacks. Different sport, but you get the analogy. Anything can happen. Hey, the 79 Rams were 9-7. They won the NFC West, which was weak, and nobody gave them a chance. And an Eddie Brown, slightly Nolan Cromwell play here or there, and the Rams beat the Steelers in Super Bowl 14. So you don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. My thing is, you have the ability to get to the playoffs. It sets culture. It sets a standard. There was a time when Ram fans, we were just begging to be 8-8. Remember? We were just begging to be 8-8. And yeah, no 9-7 Bolshoi here, as Jeff Fisher used to say. We want this team to be successful. And for this season, 9-8 gets you into the playoffs. And so I don't think we're on a run. I really don't want to see them make a big deal this time of year. I just don't, because I don't think there's a Super Bowl window here. If they make it, great. Save all those resources for next year. If you can acquire somebody that you think is a long haul type of person that, this is an easy re-sign and someone that we want going forward, cool, righteous. Let's get it done because we'll have the dough next year to pay for them. But I think you want to build with this team. This is a really young team. And again, think about it, folks. All the losses combined are by 26 points, right? All the losses are by 26 points. I saw the Rams losing by 35 to the 49ers back in the spring. I saw them losing by 35 to the Steelers back in the spring, right? We saw them, the Eagles. We just did not think the Rams were going to compete. But all 4 losses are by a combined 26 points. That's 6 points per game. And we could all point to plays where they should have if they could just made this play. A veteran would have made that play. A Ramsey, a Leonard Floyd or somebody would have made the right play at the right time. A more experienced safety or something might have made the right play at the right time. Robert Woods would have made the right catch at the right time. We won't talk about Tyler Higbee because I think I've upset some Tyler Higbee fans. But you could see a path where the Rams could have won all those games. They could have won all those games. And so they are playing well. So there is opportunity here. You can't blow games to Cincinnati that you should have won. You can't blow games to Pittsburgh that you should have won. So unfortunately, I think they really need this win here now if they're going to compete. I think they'll win in Green Bay, but we'll see. All right. Thank you, Mr. Burns. True words, Rob Sorge. Don't trust him. Don't trust him, Tim Burns. Don't trust Steeler fan Rob in Missouri. He's the Bob Sugar, like from Jerry Maguire. Don't let him in this room. He's a snake. Rams 31 or Cowboys 31, Rams 14. Steeler fan Rob says Cowboys 33, Rams 28. I like that score, Tim Burns. I do. I got to tell you, my feeling was before I heard Coward talk and I got all ticked off was Cowboys 30, Rams 7, because at some point this young team is going to play like a young team, not just in a moment, but for a game they're going to play like a young team. I'm kind of hoping they're motivated to give Sean McVay a gift as a new dad and go from there. But yeah, so let's move on. Yesterday or Wednesday, I think I talked about how the Rams had 14 draft picks and they've hit on 5 starters in this draft. Steve Avila, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Puka Nacua, and Ethan Evans. These guys are all entrenched right now as starters. We don't know about THT, Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, he's kind of fallen off a little bit. Oshawan Mathis didn't get a snap, but it seems like the team likes him. And of course, Nick Hampton, Warren McClendon have not been factors. Davis Allen, we're going to see what's going on with him. He is getting some snaps. Jason Taylor hasn't played. DeJuan Johnson's getting some snaps. We're seeing there. Zach Evans not really getting any snaps. So the Rams have scored at least 5 starters from this recent draft. But here's a quick note. While I mentioned that on Wednesday, let's talk about the 2022 draft where the Rams only had 8 players drafted, right? And it started in the 3rd round with Logan Bruss, right? They drafted Logan Bruss, Kobe Durant, Daniel Hardy, A.J. Akuri, Russ Yeast, Quentin Lake. I think I said Darian Kendrick and Kyron Williams. Well, that draft in 2022 has definitely produced 4, if not maybe 5 starters out of the 8. And it's not Logan Bruss. Daniel Hardy's gone and A.J. Akuri's on the practice squad. But if you look at this Ram draft class from 2022, Kyron Williams is a starter. Kobe Durant is a starter. Russ Yeast is a starter. Quentin Lake is borderline becoming a starter, and Darian Kendrick has been a starter, right? All these players were taken 142 or later. Something to think about when you look at this Ram team as they build towards the future and what these players are going to mean. And I think when you look at Kyron Williams, Kobe Durant, you're looking at plus players. When you look at Avila, Nakua, and I would say Byron Young, you're looking at plus players. I don't really want to rate a tight end and Ethan Young. And Kobe Turner, you're seeing a guy that's going to be a contributor, at least on the level so far of Greg Gaines or Ashawn Robinson. So, yeah, nice work with the draft picks for the Rams. All right, moving forward here, covering some business. College football, top 10, based on what I've seen and who they're playing. This is not a poll. I just polled myself. It's my ranking. Michigan is off this week. They're 8-0. They're just battling the NCAA. Washington's playing Stanford 7-0. I expect them to bounce back. Stanford had the big comeback in Colorado a few weeks ago, but that was against Colorado. And I don't see Jim Plunkett or Guy Benjamin lining up at quarterback for Stanford. So we're going to go with Washington. Florida State at Wake Forest. You know, if Charlie Ward was there instead of Travis Ford, I might be higher on Florida State. They're 7-0. It's a really good team, but I think when push comes to shove, I think they're going to drop. The big game this week in the Pac-12, or the league formerly known as the Pac-12, currently looking like the Pac-2, is Oregon is going to Utah. I think Oregon's one of the best teams in the country, but I think Utah is tough. I think Utah is – they're just that proverbial tougher than a $3 steak, right? Or, you know, they're just tough. And they're playing with a third-string quarterback, but they're not going to be playing USC. And so I'm going with Oregon in Utah this week. And the Utah Utes dream comes to an end in terms of really competing for that Pac-12 title. Ohio State, Wisconsin. I am so rooting for Wisconsin. My heart is with Wisconsin. Camp Randall. I want this stuff to happen, but Buckeyes are going to win. Oklahoma, Kansas. I flipped. I am going to take Kansas at home against the Sooners. I think Oklahoma is vulnerable. Texas, BYU. We're going with Texas. Alabama is facing bye. Oregon State, Arizona. I'm going with DJ Ugalele and Jonathan Smith and that Beaver team up in Corvallis. I think they're going to take care of Oregon. They are truly a surprise team on the West Coast this year. And USC's playing Cal. We're going to go with USC. North Carolina, 6-1 against Georgia Tech. Everything inside me tells me not to go with North Carolina, but I'm going to go with North Carolina. Ole Miss and Jackson Dart at Vanderbilt, taking them. Notre Dame at Pitt. Boy, a lot of people are getting excited about Sam Hartman all of a sudden at Notre Dame. Now, I know he's not going to be a number 1 pick, but I kind of like Sam Hartman more than I do like Stetson Bennett. Just something to say. Penn State, 6-1, going against Indiana. I think Penn State deserves to lose twice for that pathetic showing in the shoe last week. I will hope the Hoosiers can deliver it to them. Duke, Louisville, big game here. A rematch of the 86 NCAA final game. I don't think Duke has Danny Ferry or anybody else out there that can match up with Louisville. I think Louisville's 18th in the country. So I'm going to go with Purvis, Never Nervous, Ellison, and LeBradford Smith. and Billy Thompson and the Louisville Cardinal in this game against Duke on Saturday. All right, Rams-Cowboys, October 29th. Cowboys lead 15-13 all time. Rams have the playoff advantage at 5-4. Cowboys are about 500 coming off buys. You look at this team, there is part of me that just says it's time. The Rams are going to get blown out. Youth is going to be served. It's going to be served a butt kicking. But I'm going to flip because I don't like what Colin Cowherd said, and I don't like going along with the crowd. And I'm not going to. I'm praying that the Rams pound the ball, right? Especially if you're going to have Noteboom at right tackle. Cowboys have a fearsome pass rush. This offensive approach needs to look like it did against Pittsburgh. There is some holes in that Dallas front line up the middle, and the Rams need to pound the ball. Their strength is Avila and Dotson and Shelton, and they need to run up the middle. They need to avoid giving the Cowboys any kind of momentum at home with a sack or some kind of takeaway. And they need to treat this game. I would treat this game like a playoff game and punish the Cowboys. Just come out there and pound and pound and pound. Slow the game down. The Cowboys offense is not overly impressive. CeeDee Lamb is the most overrated number 88 since Ron Sellers. I'm there. I said it. Rams 28, Cowboys 21. I said it. There. I said it. I don't know if it's fanboy, but there's that bitter man side of me that is going to go with the Rams 28-21. I said it. There you go. You don't like it? Too bad. Rams 28-21, and everyone is going to be singing the praises of Sean McVay, of the new dad, Sean McVay. Looking at the rest of week 8 here, Buccaneers, Bills. We called that last night. Bills, I got back on the right track. Texans, Panthers. Tank Dell is back, and so I'm going with the Texans over the Panthers. Vikings, Packers. Someone's got to win that division, but I'd kind of like to see the Packers beat the Vikings. See the Vikings drop to 3-5. Packers go to 3-4. Rams play the Packers. Rams can beat the Packers. And I want to make sure the Vikings stay with the bunch and maybe fall back a little bit because the Vikings are going to be some team that looks like they could gobble up a wild card spot. Saints, Colts. I am rooting for the Colts. We want the Saints to fail. We want the Saints to lose. And Colts are a much better team than people thought. But we want, again, the Saints could be taking a wild card spot. We want them pushed down. Patriots, Dolphins, going with the Dolphins at home. How do you not like Tua Tagovailoa, whatever? Yeah, Tua. How do you not like Tua? Tua T, right? You have to love him as a good person and everything, limited as a quarterback. I'm rooting for the Finns. Rooting for the Finns on Sunday against Belichick and the Patriots. Jets, Giants. Hey, Jets, why don't you get Dalvin Cook the ball, right? There you go. I don't know. Take some pressure off of Zach Wilson. Modify that offense a little bit. I'm going with the Jets. Whatever it is in that game, Jets, Giants, New York's going to win. Jaguars, Steelers, as much as I would like to bag on Steeler fan Rob in Missouri, Jaguars looked really young, right? They looked really young last week against the Saints. I didn't like it. I didn't like it one bit, and I like the Jaguars. But I'm going with the Steelers at home, and I think Steeler fan Rob, I'll let you correct me. Cam Hayward's been designated to return, and that's a piece that Steeler defense is missing, and so that makes them doubly dangerous going forward. And Kenny Pickett is tough. He's got his receivers back. You just got to get Freiermuth healthy. I don't think you get Freiermuth back till November, but I'm going Steelers at Acier, formerly known as Heinz Field. Falcons, Titans. I'm rooting for the Titans. I want the Titans to win. We need the Falcons to lose. Again, Rams playoff picture. We want the Falcons to lose, but I think the Falcons are going to win that game. Eagles are going to beat the Taxskins. Browns, Seahawks. Browns deserve to lose just for the deals they did with Deshaun Watson. PJ Walker is starting. I'd like to see the Browns win. I like PJ Walker. I think the kid's tough, but the Seahawks are going to win in Seattle. Ravens, Cardinals. Yeah, I don't think you'll see Kyler Murray this week. They're going to let Josh Dobbs take one more beating, and the Ravens are going to win. Chiefs, Broncos, you got to go with the Chiefs. But like I said, at some point, the Taylor Swift thing is going to come back and bite the Chiefs and Chiefs Kingdom. It might not be this week against the Broncos. Bengals versus the 49ers. Right now, I'm going Bengals. because you got Deebo Samuel out, you got Trent Williams, tender ankle, you got Brock Purdy coming out. They think Brock Purdy might play as he's going through concussion protocol, and then you've got Christian McCaffrey dealing with an oblique. I think Frisco loses its third game, and then they get back on track. They peak too soon. They're going to have to recover and find their way back to be ready when they go to the playoffs. So I'm going to go Bengals at Levi Stadium. Chargers, Bears, Bolts are going to win. If the Bolts don't win, honestly, will someone finally say Brandon Staley's got to go? Raiders, Lions. I was excited about seeing this game, but the Lions are going to use some new helmet on Monday night. I heard just use the traditional, man. Just use the traditional. Just take care of business that way. I don't want to see the new Lions helmet or the alternative helmet. Can we just have the Lions helmet? Can we just evoke some memories of Mel Farr and Lem Barney and Charlie Sanders and stuff? Can we get some of that done first? But Lions, Raiders, this would really derail the season. But again, any coach that starts Brian Hoyer at quarterback doesn't deserve to win, and his job might be on the line. Raiders need to go with Aiden O'Connell if Jimmy G is not ready to play. But if Jimmy G gets hurt, Raiders need to go with Aiden O'Connell either way. On this date in Rams history, the Rams, former Ram middle linebacker Bill George. You know who Bill George is? Bill George was 8 Pro Bowls, 8 All-Pros. He's a Hall of Fame linebacker for the Chicago Bears, who took his spot for the Bears. He played for the Bears for about 13 seasons. He lost his job to a guy named Dick Butkus. So can you imagine, for over 20 years, the Bears had Hall of Fame middle linebackers. After Bill George lost his job, he was a free agent. And in 1966, he was signed by first-year coach of the Rams, George Allen, right, bringing in an old-timer. And George played 14 games, started 13 for the Rams at the age of 37. I thought that was interesting that Bill George, I did not realize that he had played a season with the Rams, but it makes perfect sense with George Allen. Bill George passed away in 1982. I mentioned John Williams earlier. John Williams, great Rams right tackle in the 70s to little acclaim. He passed away on this day in 2012 at the age of 66. Born on this day in 1989, former Ram linebacker Mark Barron, who had been a first-round pick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He turns 34 today. Died on this day in 2006, Marlon McKeever, great Ram, great USC Trojan, interesting player. When George Allen got to the Rams, he got rid of McKeever. When George Allen got to the Redskins, he moved Marlon McKeever back to the Rams. Something to keep in mind there. McKeever passed away on this day in 1966. Some good news on this day in 2020, the Rams waived Sam Sloman, something I thought you'd like to hear as a Ram fan. Since we're not on the air tomorrow, did want to mention that today is Mark Barron's birthday, but tomorrow is the anniversary of the Rams acquiring Mark Barron. Now, remember Mark Barron? He was this marvelous hybrid heavy safety, right? That played 5 seasons for the Rams, including the Super Bowl team, over 100 tackles a couple times. It's physical. You love this guy. The Rams acquired him. He had been drafted 7th overall by Tampa Bay in 2012 and was considered a bust. Les Snead sent a 4th and a 6th to Tampa Bay, and they got a linebacker for 5 seasons. He spent his last year in the league in 2020 with Pittsburgh, but Mark Barron, heck of a player for the Rams, deserves some credit. Okay, everything else is all the same here. Nothing else to touch on. I think we're good. Yeah, I'm looking at the thing here. Yeah, we are good. Let's see if there's any Rams stuff here. Rob Sorge, yes, he is. I think you're talking about Cam Hayward coming back for Pittsburgh. And I don't know how to pronounce that Asher Stadium, whatever. It's where the Steelers play. Okay, call it New Three Rivers. There we go. That's what we'll call it. All right, I'm Joe Terosian. I want to say thank you for clicking on. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for your encouragement. Please check us out on Spotify. Check out our sponsors. And yes, today's show.
It was a stone groove, my man.
It was a stone groove. And don't think poorly of Stan because he calls me up during the show. I like Stan. He's built the stadium. He brought the Rams back. It's just sometimes those kind of folks are a little bit needy. All right, guys. Thank you so much for clicking on. I'm Joe Tarosian. We will see you on Monday. Go Rams!